Hi everybody, it's Amy and Maggie and we're back from Japan! And we brought a lot of games with us.
We did. We acquired many games.
We did acquire many games. Actually, we purchased 62 games, which is up from the 55 from the last game market. But to be fair...
We're not getting better at narrowing in.
Okay, well look, my research was meant to narrow down the choices for sure.
And it just found more stuff.
It did just find more stuff. But also, in fairness to me, the autumn show is always much bigger than the spring show. A lot of the big designs are kind of aiming for the autumn show. So there was just great games to choose from.
What are you going to do? Yeah.
Now, the other cool thing that we got to do is Arclight invited us to come and visit their offices. So their offices are just kind of on the outer skirts of Akihabara. So we were staying in Akihabara, so it was very convenient. We just walked down and we got to get a tour of their offices and have a good chat to them, particularly about Tokyo Game Market, because they run Tokyo Game Market. And so because of that, they were also all incredibly busy at the time, like very on their computers, like doing things heads down. But it was really cool to see, you know, all the different departments and how they come together to not only get more Japanese games out into the world, but also to bring international games into Japan as well. So thank you for having us, Arclight.
Yes.
That was really special to us as well. The one thing that I'll say about this game market, and lots of people mentioned this to us as well, so lots of the different publishers were talking about it, but it was increasingly international and not just, you know, people from America and people from Australia who, you know, sometimes, you know, go over to Tokyo Game Market, but very much like a lot of different Asian nationalities were there, Europeans were there. We had viewers come up to us from Taiwan, from Malaysia, Korea. So thank you so much if you came up to say hi. And it just felt like, a real melting pot of people. And even the publishers were saying, like surprised at like how many different languages were happening. And so that was really cool to see as well, that Tokyo Game Market is obviously becoming increasingly popular as a place to go if you're into, you know, these types of games. Now let's just get into talking about some games. There are a lot of games that came back with us. We managed to get all of the games from our most anticipated video. So if you watched that, you'll know a lot about these games already. So we're not going to go over them again. We'll just fly through and talk a little bit about how easy or hard it was to pick these games up. Excluding the games we were given, there are 62 games to go through. So 62. Quite a lot. So 62 purchased games.
62 purchased games and then plus the,
Exactly. So let's get into a fly through the games that were on our list.
All right. So the first one was I'm the CEO, which I actually like the artwork from you won't be able to see it, but I'm looking at the artwork and the cards. I like it even better than I thought from just the original, like looking through. So this is the Stefan Dora game that is Slough Off or Wizard Extreme. Looking forward to giving that a go because we haven't played those prior games. This game was like 2 surprises, smaller than I expected because of the promo photos made it look a lot bigger, but then also it didn't sell out as fast as I thought it would because they said they only had limited copies, but they had like a fair few copies. So I was easily able to pick this up. So looking forward to trying that out. Nice.
I'm a CEO.
This was the little crane, finger crane game where you're having to get a card that tells you you have to use this finger and get this many cards, but then you have to close your eyes. So
this is Saibepu Art. This one was extremely popular. They were right next to the I'm the CEO booth as well. They had a few different games that we'll talk about, but this did sell out, and not this is the thing with Tokyo Game Market. There's a lot of pressure and you'll feel a lot of adrenaline when you go because you hear there's limited copies and things. But, you know, if you go there as like your first stops when you do get in, I don't feel like anything sells out super, super quickly. No. For the most part, you're going to be able to get like 90% of what you wanted to get. And there's so many reservations as well that it does make it easy if you do your homework beforehand. But this one did eventually sell out, but there were plenty of copies there. And this is just going to be a cute dexterity game. I'm looking forward to.
This was Wizards Showdown.
Wizards Showdown. This is the poker style game.
That's a bigger box than I anticipated, actually.
Is it? Yeah. Because I think it's smaller. But this was completely designer-based purchase. We don't love poker games, but we're going to give it a go. So
there's a couple.
Showdown. Let's keep going. This is meant to be the quick part.
I know. I actually put it in this bag. This is the Magic Shop because it comes in a DVD case But the DVD case, it's got components inside, and so it doesn't quite close, so it's very easy for it to kind of open up. This was hilarious because we did actually get to trial this.
You get to play this with Taylor.
The board is a DVD. Actually, I think it's a CD that you can play as a soundtrack, but you can't be playing it as because it'd be spinning, and you're actually putting tokens on it, so it would just like fly.
Hilarious, but also because the CD is a component that you're going to be using. It's also like not that scratch resistant if you're going to be putting it down on tables.
Yes, so you're putting it on the table going, oh, but then if you're putting it on the open case, you need to put cards around it. So it does
early impressions of the game though, quite good. One thing that I will say is we had the opportunity to hang out with our friend Taylor from Taylor's trick taking table a couple of times throughout the course of the week, which was really fun. So we did get an opportunity to get some of these played. But these are of course just first impressions. Usually just one game of each.
Ants. So this was another really cute. This is the 2-player game.
2-player trick taking game where you're protecting the queen ant, not the queen bee, as I said in the anticipated video. But we have had an opportunity to play this because it's a 2-player game. We got it to the table pretty quickly after we got home.
Even from and again we've only had like 1 or 2 plays of this, but it's intriguing.
It's interesting because you split your hand as to left and right, and one is going to be kind of like your attack cards, and the other's going to be your defense cards. So you have to decide immediately how you're going to split your hand of cards around your queen, and you're trying to protect your queen. And if you run out of one of those 2 sides of cards, and your queen has to be used,
exposed,
you lose. So actually, really cool concept. I'm looking forward to playing that more. That is ants.
Then out trick.
This is the. Now I'm like, we won't talk about these in detail, but now I'm having to remember how every single game plays. But this is the real-time game where you're going to be collecting cards, and then ultimately it could be a shedding game or a trick-taking game. So we picked that up.
We also got 10-12 Heart.
10-12 Heart by one of my favorite designers. This is the one where you're trying to predict how the game is going to play out by looking at other players' hands. What I really love about this is the designer of Nokusu Dice. And
Final Binary.
He is always just sitting at a little table, the tiniest table, and he's just sitting there. And most of the time, there's not a line of people or anything. And I'm like, this is the designer of Nokusu Dice. Everyone's trying to find Nokusu Dice, by the way.
The funny thing is, people are like, and the way people talk about Nokusu Dice, and it's like even in the same. So and it's like he's like right there, just like
sitting there, like selling little copies of his game. And this was so cheap.
That one did sell out.
Yeah, this did sell. It was $10 as well. I'm really excited.
But it didn't sell out immediately. Like it was there for you didn't have to rush, and you could get your copy yourself.
As long as you go straight to the places that you have made your list for.
This was one that the I don't wanna walk, or I don't wanna go on a walk. It's the translation that Amy ambushed me with getting the mat as well.
You can already see how cute the mat's gonna be.
It's really cute.
You're gonna be playing it. You're like, I'm so glad that Amy got that.
There were a couple of people, because this was my one. I am just theme alone. I'm so in. A couple of people were like, how did you even find that? And then that they actually added it to their list because they saw it in the video, but they hadn't come across it beforehand.
There were a lot of people that came up to us that said that the list cost them a lot of money. So
sorry.
I'm sorry. I was hoping that it would help, and I'm sure it did help with the research, but also probably cost a lot of people
help
money.
The designers.
All the indie designers. That's what we want too. We want these designers to be successful.
The Third Man. This is the one with the German-inspired art.
And so early impressions of this game. This is a really interesting game that you have to play the highest card in a suit into the trick, which means that you're trying not to win tricks, and so ultimately you're going to have to play the high cards in your hand, so you have to work out when you want to play them. You've got some escape cards. We played this with Taylor again, but there was a little bit of confusion around one of the last rules, which we're just trying to get clarified, which is just something towards the end of the game. So this happens when the rule books are mostly Japanese. You'll run into a couple of problems. So this unfortunately was one of them. We just ran into slight interpretations, 2 things that read slightly similar in the rules.
All right, split trick.
We haven't played this yet. It's the one where you're going to split your hand, and if you leverage that, then you have fewer points that you're able to collect.
This was our number one. Bested another time.
So happy to pick this up, but even happier is that prior to Tokyo Game Market, we got to play the prototype with Taylor and be taught the game by Taylor, and happy to say it is a really, really fun game. It's definitely accessible. In terms of the rule set, there's not much to remember, but there's a lot of depth there, and interestingly, it does have a solo mode. Which Taylor was explaining to Maggie, who's very keen.
I'm very keen to try that.
So that is Best Another Time. That's a shedding game, I should say, where you're passing to get certain benefits. Septemtric is a cooperative game. We haven't played it yet, but this is by PAX Guild.
And what was this one called? Uroboro Suturiku.
Yes, so this is the game where you're trying not to be eliminated by running out of cards, and this game was really popular at the con. It was kind of one that I read about later on. I think it had like they didn't release that much information, but mechanically, I think a lot of people really latched onto the idea of it. So I'm pretty sure they did sell out, and this was one of the booths that I saw where there was quite a lot of a line all the time. So this one was very, very popular. We got a chance to proxy this game with a deck of cards with Taylor again, and gave it a go. And interested to play it a bit more and at different player counts as well. So
Doppelkopf, which is that Saibepu brought back this sort of German game. Which
made a dedicated
deck. Because it's usually, I think, it's usually play with standard deck of cards, and now you're actually, it's a lot easier. And obviously Saibepu art, so it's absolutely gorgeous.
It is so gorgeous. I think this was pretty popular. Obviously, Sai is pretty popular. We did get an opportunity to have a good chat to Sai at Tokyo Game Market, who's just wonderful. And also, the more I get into the Japanese kind of board game landscape, she's definitely such a proactive member of the community, like really
such an ambassador and supporter of the
trying to give a lot of good advice to designers and people who may not be ready for the crowds and everything that's happening at Tokyo Game Market. So lots of respect for Sai.
Yes, absolutely.
Outside of her beautiful art.
A new record continue.
Actually, bring all those out.
So these were all three.
So my understanding of what happened
upside down
with these games, so these are all modi or more designs.
Construction.
So there's the auction one, and then there's the two trick-taking games. So I think Trick Taker's Guide to the Galaxy actually sold out, and fairly quickly as well. So when we talk about popularity, I think Mori, because of his, designer pedigree, a lot of people tend to try and go to get his games. He's also pretty renowned for making one print run and then not being very interested, I don't think, in
reprints.
More just reprints. I think he's always moving on to different designs, but also in getting it out into the world much broader. He doesn't have reservation system as well, so that makes it even more coveted. So there was quite a big line for that pretty immediately as the doors opened. But I'm really excited to play these. Anyway, we talked about these a lot. So
we also talked about Balance the Arc.
This is a
lot smaller than I anticipated.
It's tiny.
It's a cute little box.
It's
teeny tiny
really
box.
Cute. But this is one of the ones I'm more excited about. I think it's just going to be really accessible. I like the idea of trying to balance the arc with the cards that you're winning.
Dodichitre.
Dodichi Tre is the shedding game where there's missing cards in the deck. Haven't had a chance to play it yet. It doesn't seem super complicated, but of course, because it's Taiki, this was a very popular booth as well. He had a lot of his older games there as well. So that was, you have to be pretty opportunistic if you're there and you see a game that you were looking for before. I didn't pick up any of the other ones because I was trying to stay focused.
Shady Lady,
which
we talked about. I love the name of it.
By the Nana designer.
Yes.
And with Saibepu art as well. This is a bit more of a trying to deceive people about what you're intending to do game. So
For the People, which we actually did get to play, which was quite intriguing in terms of the way that it works as you're kind of committing to, as you're gaining cards, putting them higher or lower, and then that having to be you have to have more cards on the row above than below, but but then the way that as you're playing the trump class. It's shifting as well. It's super intriguing.
Yeah, so it's like essentially when someone wins with a particular suit, it becomes less powerful. But there's this corruption card that moves through the ranks much quicker.
Yeah.
It is really interesting mechanically. However, it is also a may follow. And I always find that really like weird when you're used to playing trick-taking games, and then it's like, may follow. Like you can if you want, but you don't need to. And it kind of like, it's like, what? I have too many options available to me. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing that more. The designer actually had watched our anticipated video, which was real and was really, really sweet about that as well. So it did sell out as well pretty quickly, I think. Yeah.
Kate, so this is the design by Leo, which again looks super cute and beautiful. We talked about it as well.
Yeah,
so haven't played it yet.
We need to get on to the other
have
games.
So many things.
Okay, these ones actually were on, this one was on my most anticipated list for Essen Spiel. So this is an Oink game. Obviously, Oink were there being a Japanese company. So I wanted to go and pick this up. Maggie lined up for a very long time to get
one of those
game.
like swirly Ouroboros line.
Yeah, that one was a really long line at Oink Games. And this is the dexterity one where you're trying to deliver presents on this drone.
Yeah.
So you're trying to carry it, 2 people are holding it, trying to deliver presents.
I think it's like, so everyone kind of pushing and holding it. Like,
so that's going to be fun.
And Orbiter, what's the other one?
Orbiter.
Gonil.
By Conil. So thankfully, Koreans did correct us on the pronunciation. We've been saying Gionil for ages, and I think actually a lot of people do say Gionil, but Conil is how you pronounce that. A very famous designer from Korea, particularly famous for 2-player trick-taking games and shedding games. So Orbiter is meant to be really good. Again, this was on my most anticipated for Essen, and it's been getting really good reviews, so I'm excited to have a go at that.
And more Cyberpunk art.
Ghost Lift. Now, big thank you to some of our friends from Melbourne who lined up to get this game for us. It was one of the biggest lines at the convention. I think it was actually the biggest line at the convention because it was the first time that Bomb Busters was available for sale in Japan, and it was the same booth at Endgames. So Ghost Lift was also there in limited supply, and a friend graciously lined up and purchased a copy for us. So thank you so much, Alex, for doing that.
And finally, and again, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but like, because I couldn't find any images of what the cards looked like, and the little ghost meatballs as well.
Meatballs are beautiful.
So I think I'm excited.
All Cybepu art again,
very
just
cool.
demonstrating the range of size work. I don't know why I put them all on my side.
So we'll probably have to do a very quick magic cut, move things over, so that then we can show you the things that are on the other side of where we've just now created a barrier.
Okay, it's less magic when you talk about it for this long.
Magic! Just like a good joke, you have to explain it.
Okay, let's move on. So next are the games we planned to purchase, but we didn't talk to you about them because they were a bit lower, but also this one was one that I heard about. This one was one I heard about like after we filmed the video, so that happens as well. We're like, at what point should we film this anticipated video? Because new games are being announced constantly. True. So this is a boar crab dung beetle, and it's a game that was released previously. It's been notoriously out of print, and they announced really close to the game market that they were going to be reprinting it. So took the opportunity to pick it up. I believe it is a game where you're shedding, and if you can't legally play something, you're able to change the rules or the ranking of how the system works.
It's wild.
Yeah, which means that it's constantly in flux.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to giving that a go. Okay. This one is something that you couldn't reserve, and I heard about it again last minute, but this is it's basically called the Rabbit Deck, and there's a collective of illustrators who are part of this like gaming circle, which is like, you know, what they call a club in Japan. So it's this big like club, and they had each illustrator do a different card for this deck. I think 50 different illustrators put together.
It's a standard deck of cards.
It's a standard deck of cards.
And then every card has a completely different illustrator that's kind of done the art for it. Yeah.
And you know, the Modi games that we're talking about, you know, 2 of those games don't come with a deck of cards. And that is something, someone was telling me that this is actually because of a printing restriction that they have, like a certain number of components that they can include. So we're like, well, we need a standard deck of cards, and surely we have one at home, but how could we resist the artwork of these rabbits?
It's pretty cool, and like the rabbits, all the artwork. And again, I don't know, I keep trying to show you this. I might be able to punch in and maybe show you, but it just looks so cute. It's just irresistible. This one was a fine. This is This is, I keep trying to, as I'm learning Japanese or trying to learn to speak Japanese, I just keep getting drawn to all of these RPGs that I know I'm not going to be able to play or read because there's like so much text and information. But I also, as an aside, I bought a whole heap of manga as well that I've been like like slice of life, the genre that I love. And this was kind of like the combination of those two things. So this is called, I think it's like Paris Cafe Diary. And it's just the coziest little solo kind of semi-journaling RPG that has been designed by an artist who did a master's in, I think it's art history. And so the main focus for them is they love creating games that are obviously like beautifully illustrated. And they also have a component of history, and like the idea is to kind of get you curious about different locations but this, and then I didn't even realize when I got it, it's like it also has little stickers that are like watercolored of different foods and stuff from your cafe, and I'm like, I just cannot wait to play. I'm gonna be Google translating everything, but I just cannot wait. Like it's just so beautiful.
Here you go, another
solo one. So this is, I think, more almost like a solitaire inspired, and you end up creating this really beautiful fan of all these different cards, and they're like kind of like this sort of rabbit or bunny jumping across. So yeah.
Interestingly, when I first read about this, I was like, oh, I'm not sure if Maggie's going to like it because it seems like very numbers based, like very abstract.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but then at the end when you have that beautiful fan, like it's actually creates this gorgeous fan. I'm like, well, Maggie will be drawn in by that, and maybe I'll even give it a go because I do like games like Solitaire. Where
I'll just have to watch you so that you'll feel the like.
Yeah, that's right. I'll be like, look what I did.
You're doing great.
Look what I did. I'm so good.
Babe. Yeah.
Okay. The next game was also a late addition to our reservation list. It's called Snope, and it's by a team of, I think they're quite young, and I think they might still be at university, but they are creating dexterity games. And the thing that sold us is we were talking to someone from Arclight who was explaining how much effort had gone into this game, because they had actually, they obviously look into games and their components a lot, and they were saying that the team behind this game had spent so much time at the factory trying to get all of these components just right, and in that like hyper detailed quality kind of, you know, from that perspective that you would expect from Japan.
Yeah.
They wanted the bell to sound not too loud, not too quiet, like just right, and they wanted to have the slide.
Even the tone of it, and the like,
So you've read the rules, so
so essentially you just have it's all kind of wintry, and you've got this these sleds, and you're sliding these discs into the middle of the. I think it's like meant to be like a what do you call it? A skating
rink.
Yeah, a skating rink. And so as you slide or flick these discs, they'll go underneath the bell. So obviously as they're doing that, the bells are kind of
captured.
They're captured, but they're also making a sound like bling bling. And so as you're capturing them, they're kind of going onto your little sort of personal sled board. And the interesting thing with this is it plays up to 6 people. And as you're playing, you're going to get more points the more of any one color that you collect. So it's kind of like that collection, the more you get. But if there's the final color that's left on the table will be worth 0. So you can kind of be really mean and try and like eliminate every other color except the color that someone is sort of going for. But if the more players you have, obviously the more you're kind of mitigating for that. So yeah, it was just intriguing, and it just looks
And dexterity games are not usually our thing, but definitely towards Christmas time, you've got family get-togethers and things, and this has got this beautiful wintry vibe, Christmas tree vibe. And we thought, well, of course we're going to end up playing that over the holiday season. Okay, into a few others. So this one is Warrior's Testament. This is a game that I didn't talk about because the rules at first seemed a bit too complicated. It didn't make it into my top 20, sorry, but I definitely knew I was going to pick this one up. I mentioned it briefly in the anticipated video, but this is actually by the designer of Lazy Bellboys and Clumsy Roommates. and then also Peter's Two Sheepdogs, which is a game that we really love. And in Warrior's Testament, essentially, you are trying to time when you go out of a trick-taking game. And that, I think that is like key to it, is like at what point are you going to kind of excuse yourself out of the trick-taking game, because otherwise you can get left winning tricks that you don't want.
Right.
So anyway, that's Warrior's Testament. This one I bought primarily because of the art. It is called, it's about a giant space turtle.
Cute.
Super cute. And it's a 2-player only trick-taking game, and it has an element of deduction in it because the giant space turtle has the value of X, and you're trying to deduce what the value of X is. So
it's an equation.
Yeah, and I noticed that there was this section when I went to pick this up. Oh, they were so sweet, the designers. But they were sitting within all of these booths that seemed like they had like a chemistry element to them or a mathematics element. So the very nerdy section of, I would say, of Tokyo Game Market. And because this is obviously, kind of based on algebra, the game.
Okay.
So I'm intrigued to play this, particularly with my sister, who is an engineer, and I think she'll really appreciate that one. The next one is Magic Wands. This was really popular amongst Japanese people, in fact. So it's not a trick-taking game or a shedder. It is more of a hand management game where you have all these magic wands, and you're playing them down in order to like power them up, I think. So it's kind of got this like snowballing tableau effect. But then at the end of the game, I think the game will end when someone reaches a certain number of points, or if you get too many cards in your hand. So yeah, I'm not sure how this works, but I'm interested to play it. The next game is actually by a friend that I've made in the community, Mr. Ben, who if you're into trick-taking games or, imported games, you probably know him for his store that he has in the UK, travelgames.co.uk, but he also designs his own games with his wife as well. And this game is, I can never remember how to say this, Shochikubai. And essentially it stands for pine, bamboo, and plum. So these are these 3 images here, and in Japanese culture and Chinese culture, these motifs have very special meaning. So, pine is about like longevity, and then bamboo is about strength, and plum is about renewal. And so you'll often see these depicted on things like pottery and artists and crafts and things. So the way that this game works is it is a trick-taking game, but when you're winning tricks, you are trying to collect these tokens of these different types. And it's a set collection game combined with trick-taking. So looking forward to giving that a go. I think it's the first time that he's published a game at Tokyo Game Market, which is really exciting for him. And it was only available on Sunday, so we made sure we went on Sunday to pick that game up.
Cool.
A late addition to the list is this one. Again, when I did my most anticipated, this was not, it hadn't been announced, but this is a reprint called Momojan. So it's all about this peach. And
comes in a tin.
It's a 2-player game. That is based on Mahjong. So I've never, gotten into Mahjong. Obviously, it's a very, culturally important game, and I would love to be taught it. It's just not a game that feels like it would be easy to just learn from scratch without someone teaching you. But a couple of our friends are really into it, so I look forward to learning one day. But this has essentially distilled it down into a 2-player card game.
Cool.
So intrigued by that. The next one is Mrs. Sandwich. Now, there is a part of Tokyo Game Market that features more like, you can see that this is kind of pre-production.
Like more prototypey, sort of trying something out.
So, most of Tokyo Game Market is small designers, and this is like the even smaller, more niche kind of area. But Mrs. Sandwich is a game that is a little bit like Old Maid. Essentially, you have a handful of cards, and you have to use an action to be able to change the order of them. But you've got a handful of cards, and you're trying to make sandwiches. So if you're trying to make a sandwich, you've got all these ingredients, and you have a piece of bread that needs to be at one end of, at each end of the sandwich. You can't have bread in the middle. That's not a sandwich. You could, but that's not what we're doing. And so on your turn, you just have a really interesting choice of whether you steal a card from your neighbor, you hand a card off to someone else, you you create a sandwich and put a sandwich down. And there's one other thing that I can't remember, but there's all these decisions that you have to make. Oh, reorder your hand is the other decision. And it's important that you decide wisely because you're trying to make sandwiches to get points. There's also like some kind of super duper sandwich that's going to give you extra points if you're the first person to make, or if you make it. But then the risk is there's Mrs. Sandwich, which is a sandwich that has every ingredient in it.
Oh. A mega sandwich.
Yeah, if you make that sandwich, you instantly win.
Okay.
And so it comes as a timing of like, should I make lots of sandwiches? But I also need to stop someone else from getting a Mrs. Sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, cool.
So I actually think it's going to be really fun. I'm excited to play that one.
It looks cute.
Now the next one is a game by Mashi Kumaru, who's again another very famous designer. Did My Own Sunny Day, which is the umbrella game that we really liked last time, as well as Sumida River, which is one of my Grail games I haven't been able to get a hold of. This is a cooperative trick-taking game. Interesting little hook about it is you're going to inherit the hand of the player next to you.
Yeah, it looks like it's a 4-player only game.
Yes, it is. So they're going to be trying to achieve the objectives, but if they don't get everything done, you're then going to inherit their hands, and then the next round you're going to have to deal with whatever mess they've made.
It's like a group assignment where you get stuck with everything.
It is like a group assignment. Dualis as well is one that I heard about pretty late, and so it didn't quite make our list, but this is a partner game. It is by the designer of Trickerous, which has now been picked up, which is very exciting.
Yes.
But Dualis is a game where you play in pairs, and essentially you're going to be able to use these tokens that are at the center of the table to change the color of the suit of the card that you're playing. But the more of those tokens you take, the more tricks you have to win. And so it's like good, but then it might stop you from winning.
Yeah.
So interesting. Again, another game where you need 4 players.
Yes.
So we're going to have to find some friends, Maggie.
To recruit people and just hold them here for days.
Desperate Oasis is one that this is interesting. It's a 2-player only game, and I was simply drawn in by the art.
The art is so cool.
Yeah, the art is amazing. Really different style by a fairly new designer, I believe. Not a Japanese designer. This one actually was imported, I think, by a company and translated into Japanese. But it's a 2-player lane battle game. So it has that kind of element of playing cards down to different lanes to try and gain control over that lane for 2 players. So I'm intrigued to try that out. Fisherman is a game that I purchased from PAX Guild. It is an older game as well, but I love fishing. If you watch the channel, you'll probably know that I love that as a theme. And if you pre-ordered it, came with this like little expansion, which is called Fishman, which is hilarious. But essentially, it's just a different set of rules to play a different game with the same deck of cards. And then Storm in a Teacup.
Best name.
This is like, I feel like this is like an exam. I'm like going through them and trying to remember what each of the rule sets are. But in Storm in a Teacup, it is a shedding game. The cards are amazing. They're these skinny little giraffes drinking either tea, so they either represent tea, milk, or lemon.
Adorable.
Yeah, and so when you're playing Melds Down, you can combine milk and tea to make a milk tea.
Makes perfect
You can
thematic
add
sense.
1 lemon card to tea to make it a lemon tea.
Yes.
Now it's kind of a little bit like trick taking because you're going to be evaluating the highest meld that gets played. But unlike the Ouroboros trick, this is a shedding game, so you're trying to get rid of your cards, but cards are going to come back to you if you don't win the trick, essentially. So really cute. There's no numbers in that game, so
There's another one.
pretty cool. Yeah, there's another one that we'll talk about in a moment. But Hashi Go Out is another game that I was excited to pick up, but there wasn't much information available about it. But essentially, it is another shedding game, but this time it's like literally ladder climbing because there's these ladder cards that fill the board and you're restricted by what you can play because you have to be like next to or adjacent to a similar meld or something like that. So it kind of builds out, which restricts where you can play.
I'm seeing games that I haven't even seen. Like, I didn't know we got this. I'm like, what even is this? I haven't seen it as I've been like unpacking and stuff. I'm learning so much.
Friedman Freeze. Do I know more about this game or do you? One of your favorite designers?
Yeah, I can't remember actually what this one is.
That's
Fearless.
Okay. I do. So in this game, you are trying to basically net out. It's a trick-taking game, and you're trying to net out your negative cards with your positive cards that you're winning in order to stay at 0. But the theme is pretty funny. It's like you are all moving as a group through the scary forest, and you kind of don't want to be in front, and then you don't want to be left behind, because if you get left behind, you're probably going to be the one that gets taken. And it reminds me of an escape room we did recently.
Every escape room that we do, Amy never wants to be in the front or in the back. She always has to be like sandwiched, Mrs. Sandwich.
I do have to be Mrs. Sandwich in the middle, because what was funny is we recently did one. We went for a trip to Athens with my family this year, and we did the number 8 escape room in the world, which was absolutely the most terrifying experience I think I've ever had. It was horrifically scary. And my sister and I were like, before we went in, she's like, don't worry, I'll be behind you. As soon as we got in there, she's like, get Almo, I need to be in the middle. And I was like, absolutely not. This is not what we agreed. Maggie, of course, is like, I'll go first.
Group assignment. I had to do it. And they was like,
But my sister and I were just fighting over who was going to be left behind.
And often it was like, we'd be at a whole other end. It's like, oh, there's a lot of jump scares, and there were like actors in it. And they're like, oh, someone has to go by themselves all the way. It's like, yes, I volunteer as tribute.
Bye,
so.
Maggie. Anyway,
group assignments, am I right?
Yeah. The next 2 games are by the same designer. There is a older trick-taking game called Trick-Taking in Black and White, and I've never been able to find it. I've never been able to pick it up, and so I don't even know if it's that strong of a game, but because of its
because it's impossible
scarcity,
to find.
It's way up there on my grail list. But anyway, they were coming out with 2 games. Actually, one of them, Hidden Numbers, was released a little while ago. But this game is a cooperative game, and you are choosing how much information you give the other players. So you can you'd have to decide the timing of when you're going to give information away by playing cards that are shown with their numbers versus hidden cards. So that sounds really interesting concept. And then serif and sans serif, as in the fonts. This game is interesting in that there's 2 numbers on every card, and one has to represent the suit and one has to represent the rank, and you have to decide that as you play. Sounds complicated.
It does.
But it's competitive, so I like that. The next game is a game that I had clocked just because it's been getting such great reviews. Arepa Mine in Space. So Arepa Space. So the original game was Arepa Mine, and I think that Plate has now...
It sounds like arepa, which is like a Venezuelan dish.
I'm probably saying it wrong. It's probably Arapa or Arapa. I don't even know how to say this.
For me, it's always going to be a massive arepa, which is just look up
delicious.
Arepa. And delicious.
They're so delicious.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, anytime.
So good. But this is a deduction game in the battleship style. But the cool thing about it is the components have been really well made. They're magnets, so the planets are magnets that stick on a board, and you're trying to work out the positioning of those based on, I don't know, their curvature and things.
And it's not about arepas, so
not about arepas. Just
misleading.
Temper that disappointment. Okay, now let's move on to the Impulse Buys. The first Impulse Buy is a game that we did mention, and we mentioned it as we can only get one poker game, and so we're going to get Wizard Showdown. But no, then we saw Sushi Otter, which is also a poker game. But again, how can you resist?
How can you resist it? And like even the all the cards as well, like they've got little different bits of sushi and they're beautifully illustrated. And when again, it's one of those, like, went to the booth to check it out and they were all so nice.
They were so nice, but also
one, please.
Mr. Hisashi Hiyashi, the designer of Bombusters of mini games, was standing right there and was like, "Hello," and we're like, "One, please."
Yes.
One, please. Definitely going to buy this game.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we had good intentions, and that's the main thing.
Now, this one was one that so this is Firm with Brownies. I had picked up a different one of these in a previous trip to Japan, because it's always in the game stores, and it's always like the artwork has always sort of drawn me in. And then when I was trying to figure out how to play it, I saw a lot of solo videos, but the solo videos were for this particular expansion that only works with this version. So they had all the versions there, and so I ended up buying this version with the expansion, and that was a very interesting.
That was a really fun
lost in translation moment, trying to like explain what I was after, because then they have another game that does play solo, like right out of the box, but that's not the one that I was after. Anyways,
but they were like, every time Maggie was explaining, she's like, to play, just one, in broken Japanese, kind of like just one person. They're like, oh, we know what that is, and they bring out something else, and you're like, no, that's not what it is. And they'll just like explain a bit more, and they're like, oh, I know, and then they go and get something and be like, No.
Yeah. But anyways, the reason I like this one is it's kind of like a market type, like you're kind of running stalls, and it's very much like resourcey kind of stuff, but it's all done with cards. And so I just, very, very drawn to it. And now I can finally play it solo and check it out. So, yes. And also, brownies does not refer to actual, like the brownies that you eat.
Unfortunately, not the chocolate brownies.
No, it's actually, it's kind of like the equivalent of like elves or like little helpers type things. And so...
Yeah. Well, when I was in school, it was like the female version of Scouts.
Yeah, which I think that's still... Is that? I can't remember if that's in Australia specifically.
Well, yes, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe not. There you go. Yeah. The next game is called Parkoon, and this game I just got swept up in the hype. So I didn't know much about this game going in, but I think it was maybe a Kickstarter. And so they had like a lot of people who, obviously backed this game. And then I was just hearing about it kind of like through Japanese people who were excited to get their hands on it. And I saw the cards. And so what you're doing is you're building your own theme park. But every player has like a little rondelle. That was it. I was sold.
She's like,
and that's it. Take my money.
Approved.
So I like the team, and I really like.
And it had a rondelle, so it was. It was a no-brainer.
Done and dusted. That sold out real fast as well. So and then I felt really good, like, whew, okay, I'm glad I discovered that. But I think it's just because maybe they had limited copies after the campaign. I don't know, but it was really popular.
Yeah.
But not a trick taker.
This one was a total impulse buy when we were there.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Yeah. Best Family Forever from today, which I thought was about, because it's got all these different pets in it, and I thought it was about like adopting pets.
Yeah.
But I think it's just about essentially like different collection of pets. But this is the other game where it's like you're playing almost like melds, but there's no numbers on the card, so it's the type of pet repeated, essentially, and you're climbing.
Yes, but it's a must not follow. So interestingly, if you play like one particular color, then the next player has to play the same meld type but in a different color. And then you also can play a really powerful combo, which is one of each color. And it was actually really fun, really easy to get into. We played a game just at their booth, like they had like a demo, so that was really cool. And the illustrations are all individual on the cards.
Yes.
So again,
and it's the wife of the designer that does the illustrations, I believe, with this one. Yeah. So
just like the rondelle, how could we resist?
Yeah, it's just too hard to resist.
Okay, the next one I'm really excited about, because every time we mention PAX Guild, we mention the fact that the roulette taking game is nowhere to be found, and can please someone reprint it. Now, right before the show, I think it might have been the day before, they announced that they were going to have...
It doesn't come with this ribbon. Obviously,
no,
that's a different ribbon.
Iten gave us this to use.
Which is very handy.
Thank you, Iten. But this is the roulette taking game, and they produced, I think, 25 copies or something ridiculous for this game market. They announced it so late on their Twitter, and I was just like, say what now? And so this became, one of my more immediate stops on my tour. And I'm so excited. The only thing about this version is they were very apologetic, because they printed just a limited number of copies, and it doesn't come with the material mat, which creates the roulette table.
The felt table feel.
And so when they do reprint it, obviously it will have much nicer components, but they're like, in the meantime, if you really want a copy, we're going to do one with a paper table. And Maggie was like, should we just wait for the nicer one? I'm like, absolutely not, Maggie. Am I not waiting? The next one is a game called Tanbo. This is a game that I just stumbled upon. I'd seen a couple of photos of it, and the thing that hooked me in is that it is a Mancala style game for just 2 players. And I've played this quite a bit now, and I really enjoy it. It's quite thinky. And you're moving, essentially you're growing rice, and you're moving snake and rice and a farmer between different segments in your rice paddy fields. And depending on where you land last, just like in Mancala style games, that's going to dictate what action happens. And so you're trying to plan ahead, and it's really a race to get a certain number
really
of points.
Interesting, like the mental maths of where things are going to land, and then the things that you can activate. It's like with such a simple production, like it's quite complex in its in its thinkiness,
Yeah.
its crunchiness.
Yeah, very easy to explain, get to the table
Really
as
pretty
well.
components as well. Yeah.
The next game is another game that I didn't hear about literally until like the day before, but this is a game by Daniel Newman, who is, very well-respected designer in this space. Daniel is a friend of ours who we've met through the hobby, and, we're able to catch up with him, go out for dinner with him during the week in Tokyo. This is his new title, Yonkai no Yokai. Wasn't able to reserve this, but I feel very fortunate I was able to pick up a copy. It's Saibepu art as well. And it is basically so Yonkai is like the fourth level, and Yokai is like obviously the spirits. So it's the spirits on the fourth level, and so it is an elevator-based game. Yeah. I mean, there's like parallels to Ghost Lift. But in this game, it plays out quite different mechanically. Depending on how high or low this elevator is in the center, it's going to dictate what you are and are not allowed to play. Essentially. So that's all I know, but I'm really excited to play that one. Beautiful
Great art. Yeah.
As well. This one is called Monster Estate, and this is another one of those ones where I'm like, I saw it and I was like, I don't need that game. I am going to be really good. I'm not gonna pick it up.
Somehow here it is.
Yeah, and so Pampas is a relatively new game studio. They always make games in this little pocket, and the designers involved are designers for Oink games as well. So one of the key designers started this company, I think. And I read the rules of this, now I can't remember, but I was like, maybe. And then on Sunday I was there and we were just about to leave, and the line for this had just been so long, and I was like, I just got FOMO. I was like, maybe I should join that line. And I did.
Every time. There you go.
Yeah.
FOMO got the best of you.
Talk about
it might be amazing. So we don't know. We'll try it out.
This is an older game, Gibberers. It's the game where as a group you're making up your own language, and it's quite a long game, but it gets great reviews in terms of just being like such an interesting study of like how language is developed and created and used amongst a group of people to communicate. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to pick this up. Hobby Japan had it and it was Japanese, but then in asking about whether there was like a patch or English cards, the attendant was like, in my very limited Japanese, was like, oh yeah, we're selling the English cards for
That's
it.
great.
So I was like, woohoo! So I purchased the English card set, and now I can play Gibberers.
Amazing.
Been waiting for ages to try that game.
Go.
This also was a last minute recommendation to us, Ninja Tricks. So our friend Mandy was telling us about that. Her friend was developing launching a trick-taking game and had like limited copies. Oh, there goes the FOMO again. Yeah. But also, I looked at it, I saw the art, I was like, this art is pretty cool. Really cool. And
I don't know if you'll be able to see it because there's a bit of glare in the,
Yeah, so Ninja Tricks is a must-not-follow game, and it has some kind of scoring mechanism. That's all I know about it, but I saw it on the table, met the designer, I was like, yes, please. Yeah. One copy. The next one is Super Power Rally. This one is funny because I had, this was not on my radar and I completely missed it on the Saturday. And then because he'd been selling it and then he had no copies left, I had to beg to purchase a copy of this game because I have a friend that is so into cars and games that I was like, I must
and rally cars specifically.
Well, racing cars, for sure. And so this one is actually by the designer of Lure, the all-play game, which was originally the dice fishing game that was in Taiwan. And it's very similar in that you're trying to upskill your rally driver by rolling dice and like playing dice and upgrading things and things. So I literally had to beg, and he was so kind to sell me his demo copy for my friend. So that's so nice. The next one is a game I tried to resist buying. I swear I tried.
I was like, we don't have the space. And then at the end of Saturday, when I was putting things in bags, I was like, you know what? Maybe we do have the space.
Yeah, there was a space that had both of our laptops in our bag, and I was like,
we don't need these. Just leave those behind. Work. We won't have time for work. Have you seen how many games we're gonna have to play?
No, I was gonna say we had to take them on our carry-on luggage, so I was like, well, they're gonna come out, which is exactly the size of Railway Boom. It has been getting great reviews, so excited to play. It is it's almost like a 18XX, and it's by Hisashi Hayashi and Simone Luciani with art by Ian O'Toole. What's not to like? But instead of having the 18XX share market system, it actually all works on auctions. It's been getting great reviews, so really keen to play this, especially as we start to evaluate the best games of 2025.
Yes.
Dave. Now let's move on to some copies of games that were given to us. We don't know much about these because, of course, they were just handed to us. But one of the people who work at Plate Games, his name's Stu. He was so lovely, and he lives in Korea. And he gave us this copy of Cicadas, which is his own game. So really excited to try that out. Yeah, in a cute little tin.
Tins are fun.
I'll talk about all of them at once because they're basically a Malaysian designer reached out to us and was like, can I give you some games while you're at Tokyo Game Market? And so this one is King and Peasant, which is actually being given a seal of excellence by the Dice Tower. It is a very quick card battling game. It's asymmetric. And I did watch the Dice Tower review and I was like, that sounds really interesting. So they brought that to give us a copy. So thank you for that. Looking forward to trying it. And then they gave us this other set of games by Malaysian designers, Snow White, by the 11 Dwarfs, Pinocchio, and Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. So would we say that they're a little bit Disney inspired?
They're very Disney inspired.
Disney inspired. The only one I've looked into really is Snow White, which is really intriguing because it plays up to, I think, 18 players.
Wow.
Yeah, 7 to 18 players. So firstly, we need to have 7 friends, but I think it's a deduction game.
I don't have that many friends.
Deduction game based on numbers, which is really interesting. Like
I'm going to have to get more friends, find friends somewhere.
And then Plate also gave us this game, Big Shot, when we were there. And they just were like, hey, you have to try this in your game. We think it's really great. So I don't know anything about it, but I'm looking forward to trying it. And there's some more. Hold on.
No.
So here we go. Charles, who's the designer of Sky Towers. We always see him, and it's always great to see him. And he gave us a copy of his new game, the Universal Voting Game.
Universal Voting Game, where you're all aliens voting on things, and you can kind of decide what the E, F, and S stand for. So they're suggestions. So it could be epic, funky, and smart. And so it's kind of like categories. And so apparently it's just a lot of fun and chaos. And it's a vote as if you're alien, so not as you thinking what the so that it sort of creates a much
and
more
you're
fun.
trying to like get in the majority or not be in the majority, that style of voting game. So intrigued to play that out, to have a go of that game.
Check it out.
So many games. Check it out. Dive a Go was the new release by Itten. And we met with Itten and we got a chance to play this game. It's really light, very family friendly. Essentially, you are diving for pieces of treasure. But you only get you have to quickly decide what turn order you're going to go in, which also dictates how many pieces of treasure you're going to be able to go after. So if you take the 1, you're only going to be able to pick up 1 piece of treasure, but maybe you just really need the one that's on top, because then what you're going to do is look at the position of everything and put like this blindfold goggle glass in front of you, and then you're going to have to dive in and pull out the right tokens, and you have to be really careful because some of them are cursed.
And so you can bust as well. So if you get too many of the cursed ones, you sort of bust.
And you're trying to
save recipe
up
fulfillment, essentially. There's like set combinations of treasure that you're going after. But interesting, I also learned that as I had the thing in front of me, even though like you have the kind of mask in front of you, which is blocking your eyes, I was also closing my eyes. It's like, I don't need to close my eyes if I've already got my...
You just are really conscious of not cheating.
I was trying very hard not to cheat.
Our friend Mr. Ben also sent a couple of his older games, so After You and Rotisserie Chicken. I just love
So fun, that name.
So fun. Such a good concept, Rotisserie Chicken. So looking forward to try those out. Thank you, Mr. Ben, for sending those over. And the next game is FOMO.
Yes, this is by Esper Studios, who recently did Josogi, which we recently played and absolutely loved it. And so Josogi, one of the things that we loved about it was like the art was so incredible, all these different artists. So now they're using this approach of like finding artists and then looking at the artist style and then building a game around that art style. And so FOMO is one of those games where it's all about you kind of building, you kind of go into a scrapyard and getting pieces to create a robot. And so
using auction mechanisms.
To get different pieces. So it's every card is just absolutely gorgeous.
Because this particular illustrator always did robots and that kind of thing. So I really like that approach too. It's very novel.
So looking forward to checking that one out as well.
A couple of games when we went to visit Arclight. So Snow Colony, which is one of their more recent releases, and Tornado Splash. And we did get an opportunity to play both of these with Taylor when we were hanging out at different game cafes. But Snow Colony is essentially you are building a little village of penguins.
Yeah, well, yeah, so you're kind of building these sort of different level heights, and then as your penguin is sort of moving around, it's activating those buildings as it's landing on them.
Not a lot of interaction in it, but very like family friendly, pretty easy to get into. Tornado Splash was a big hit. I know that it's a little bit hard to find now, so we're very lucky for them to give us a copy. It has the most amazing meeples where you are choosing a vehicle and then you're choosing the animal and then they slide together and then you're just like on this jet ski, which is really cool. Or this watercraft. And then what you're going to be doing, it's a race game. You're going to be playing cards down to build at your track and basically try and cross the finish line. But each of the different vehicles have like different speeds, or they're able to turn better, and so you're just trying not to go off course. A very cute racing game. And then we met the team at Mandu Games, and they kindly gave us a copy of Faust versus Mephisto. I'm not sure how to say that, pronounce that properly. But essentially, this is the other game by Cornel, and that was also another 2-player game. And so, just always intrigued to try out his games. I don't know too much about this one, but
it's got that sort of Jekyll versus Hyde sort of vibes in terms of like the sort of asymmetric game. But we'll have to check it out. Haven't played it yet.
And then our friend Taylor gave us a copy of Zoo and More, which is a compendium of games that he's been working on. With different designers, there's 4 different decks in here, and then there's a meta game that is about all of the different decks.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah. So it includes Short Zoot Suit, which was one of his games that we do already own, but then there's other games with different designers, and then a meta way to bring them all together. Classic Taylor. And
so fun.
Yeah, looking forward to trying that one out. And now finally, we're almost at the end, I promise, but there were a few games that we picked up that were we picked up before the convention, so I wanted to talk about those. One is there's a lot of secondhand board game shops in Tokyo itself. In fact, I found that has become more limited. So we went to quite a few Yellow Submarines, and a lot of them didn't have a lot of secondhand stock, so I don't know if that's now being sold online, but there are a couple of great stores still in Akihabara in particular. The Surugaya that's there has a lot of stock of
secondhand games. Yeah. Well, this is one that you found, and you're like, hey, this is interesting. So this is called Trick Pages, and it's a solo trick-taking game, but it's got this sort of campaign thread to it, where you're essentially, it's almost like a roguelike game, because you're playing trick-taking against the monsters essentially, and as you're winning, you are getting coins that then you can use to upgrade your ability to fight future monsters. However, if you run out of cards, you're kind of dead and you have to reset and start from the beginning. But I'm intrigued by that. It's essentially just a little book and some cards.
And it's another Mashikamaru game as well. And so, you were talking about how few solo trick-taking games there are. So why are you going to
I was putting it out into the universe, and there you go. There was one that was
came
there.
To us.
It was ready. It wasn't cheap though for something that is so simple, but it's very rare. So,
Now, 2 of our friends from Melbourne, Tom and Alex, were also at Tokyo Game Market, and so we met up with them and we played. We went to a Jelly Jelly board game cafe, which quite common in Tokyo. And while we were there, we were like, okay, let's each of us just pull a game off the shelf and we'll learn it, and then we'll teach each other, like just to get through a lot of smaller games. And 2 that we came across is this one. So this is Kasane Iro. And this game is basically you are trying to make the pattern that's shown on a central card, and it's a race, and you have these transparent films that go on top of each other, like these lenses that come together to create the colors.
So it's like primary colors that then when you overlap can form secondary colors. And then, you're having to figure out, everyone has the same set. And so everyone can make the pattern that is...
Well, you'd think so.
You'd think so. But we learned that Amy is... color is not your thing.
No.
But that's okay.
I'm always like... I now know this because of the channel, that this is just a way of thinking about puzzles that I can't do. Color, I don't know what's happening. And because this is a race, everyone was like, finish. And I'm like, I am nowhere near finishing it. And then Maggie was like, well, don't you know what colors go together? I'm like, oh no, I know that blue and yellow equals green. But for some reason, my brain just can't piece together the puzzle.
It was an interesting one. You
were quite good at it.
Yeah. It's interesting. Sometimes. I wasn't the best at it.
Yeah, but I wanted to buy it anyway because that's fascinating.
It's really
to me.
fascinating.
It's like having different styles of puzzles.
I don't know how accessible it is, so I don't know like how it would work with color blindness because there's no way of kind of coding it.
No,
but,
I think that would be impossible.
Yeah.
So this one is called Dotta Batta Chizu, which is a game about snatching cheese. This was another one that we learned, and then I had to go pick it up.
Very simple, very light.
Yeah, it's an older game actually that's just been introduced into Japan, and as it's been introduced into Japan by Jelly Games, it has Sai Beppu art treatment, which of course is a big bonus. But the way the game works is a whole bunch of dice are going to be rolled, and then there's a hierarchy to those dice, and you're trying to figure out the puzzle of like, okay, the cat scares away the mouse.
Yeah, it's essentially how much cheese is going to be left. Yes. And so there's like some cheese dice that will have 1, 2, 3, or like, but then there's the cats, the mice, and the animals, and the people that scare each other off, and then they eat. So
so then you have to, quick as you can, lock in your bid of how many cheese are left, and then if you get it wrong, you're actually going to lose more points or lives actually in this game than if you didn't attempt it at all. So really cute little party game. And then the final one is a game called Take Time, which had actually just launched in Japan. Not a Japanese designer. It's by Lillibud. And this game is what got me into this game is it's kind of a game of, it's cooperative, but it's card-based and it's limited communication, which tends to be the best style of cooperative game for us. But this comes with a number of dials that sits in the middle of the table, and it gives you different conditions for where you're going to be placing out cards, and the objective is to pass the level. But there's so many, or 40 levels or something, that you have to work your way through.
But it's an interesting thing that, like, that collective learning, okay, how do we crack this?
Yeah. So that is all of the games from Tokyo Game Market. We hope you enjoyed this whole video. We'll of course try to endeavor to do more anticipated videos before each Tokyo Game Market. We had such a fantastic time. Thank you to everybody who came up to say hello, to all of the Japanese publishers, designers that came up to speak to us. It really felt like super welcoming, so we really appreciate that. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll be back with more board game content soon. But otherwise, bye for now. Bye.